Walker, running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
KJ Wright.
Hey, Burleson, you're watching NorbFam.
You're watching NorbFam.
What's happening, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Just updated my internet modem today and reset my firmware on my router, hoping that this will clean up some of the internet issues I've had in recent weeks. So hopefully you guys can hear this okay. And yeah, let's get into it. Some updates here, Seahawks, as we are, what is it, Tuesday of this week. It's been a little bit of a quieter week, but nonetheless, some things going on. Appreciate you guys joining in. And if you haven't already, we'd love it if you would subscribe, hit that notification bell and that like button, comment away. And of course, we'll be taking your calls after I get through some of this initial content here. We'll love to hear back from you guys as well. Thank you for those of you joining the chat. We have Justin. And I asked in the thumb, will either of these guys sign? Justin says no. What's up, big bro? SL, DC5 Sonic. What else do we need as a team to be set? SL, can we sign Lockett? Dang it. I don't think that's happening. There's a rumor where he might go, though. Benz, can we sign Patrick Mahomes? I don't think he's exactly free out there. Justin, again, of your fan versus fan clips, missed those. I'm going to try to make a few more this year. I'm talking about the Rivals videos, of course. We need an O-line and another receiver. Gary Lewis. Hey, Gary, what's up? What's up? Aiden, Ray, and DC5 continuing along to the Steelers. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, getting into it, just a few things I wanted to bring up, updating you guys on the latest. So this you probably guys already know, but let's break some of this stuff down a little bit. So again, the biggest issue is talking about, the offensive line, but we did have a little quiet signing the other day. The Seahawks did sign, just not an offensive lineman. They signed Shamar Jean-Charles. And if you were like me, my reaction was, who's that guy? Cornerback. He bounced around a few teams, started out with the Packers in 21, joined the 49ers and the Saints in 23, kind of played for the 49ers for the first half, the Saints in the second half, and then last year finished with the Saints. And he only started 2 games during all that time, played in a bunch of others. Not much to write home about. 14 tackles, a pick, a couple of passes defended. Did get that pick, though. But this is more of a depth move. I understand it. We do need those moves. I don't know what the amount was that we got for him. I don't think it's a whole lot. But we did add him in free agency. We got to include it to the list. All right? So that's that. Now I want to talk a little bit about the offensive lineman. Now we've been talking, I know they've been teasing it since last week, that Teven Jenkins, offensive lineman from Chicago, was scheduled to have a visit, and I'm still waiting for confirmation of that visit. But there's a couple other guys that they've also talked about bringing in here. That would be Dillon Radunz and Lucas Patrick. So that's potentially 3 guys, veterans who we could be meeting with, we meaning the Seahawks could be meeting with this week. And could one of these guys potentially end up signing with Seattle? Well, here's a breakdown of some of these guys that we're looking at here. Teven Jenkins is the first one that comes to mind. It would be a great fit. He's a guard. Need that. He played 14 regular season games last year. And in those 14 games, only had 1 penalty and only 1 sack allowed. That's pretty good. For a Chicago Bears team that wasn't all that great, that's a pretty good performance on that offensive line. He was good in both the run and the pass. His low penalty count is good. And again, only 1 sack. I kind of like the sound of that. So we'll see if Teven Jenkins does indeed come to Seattle, and will they do something with him. In the meantime, they also got Dillon Radunz supposedly coming to visit from played on the Titans, 15 games last year, 2 penalties, but did allow 6 sacks. Was a starting tackle for the Titans, mostly pass protection. Again, with a couple of penalties and that 6 sack count, not so great. So again, I'm kind of looking at Teven Jenkins as the top dog in this list here. And then we go to this one that's very appealing. This is Lucas Patrick, who was with the Saints last year. Center, 11 regular season games. In those games, he had 3 penalties, 0 sacks allowed. But because of the penalties, it did reduce some of his playing time. And so, nonetheless, kind of like that whole 0 sacks allowed is a pretty big stat that jumps out there. So, again, positions that we're looking for potentially, mostly, again, at the guard position with Teven Jenkins. And, we are kind of still trying to figure out the whole center position. So, rumors that these 3 guys were to have visits with the Seahawks. So we'll find out what we hear from these guys. Will anybody walk out with a deal, or are they just going to come by and move along? We'll find out. But at least the Seahawks are making some efforts to try to bring some guys in. All right, moving along. This is kind of interesting. So according to Brady Henderson, the beat writer for the Seahawks, they have scheduled a visit with Louisville quarterback Tyler Shough. I think it's Shough. Shough. Also played at Oregon and Texas Tech. This guy has played 7 years in the college. These college careers are getting longer and longer. How old is he? 25. And he's ranked at this point in mock drafts as the number 4 quarterback in the draft. So, this could be kind of interesting in terms of what they might potentially do in the draft. So there you go. Keep an eye and put on your boards there. Let's keep an eye out for Tyler Shough. This might be, something the Seahawks potentially could make a move on, since we do know that they might be looking to do something in the draft at quarterback. Next point here, number 4, the Eagles. An Eagle has landed. You guys probably heard the news. The Eagles' Brandon Graham hung up his cleats, has decided to retire. 15 years with the Eagles. Beloved player, key piece in their Super Bowl run this past year. And gave a very emotional speech, press conference. So congratulations to Brandon Graham. And that's the way you want to go out, right? You win a Super Bowl and drop the mic, you're out. So pretty good career. And congratulations, Brandon Graham. All right, so this last one, before I start taking your calls here, and again, if you want to call in, there's the number, 202-926-1076, from the code 696153. More about the Sam Darnold contract. So, and I kind of brought this up the first time I had seen it and looked at the guarantees. So, at first glance, $105 million deal, 3 years. So you just look at it and you think, oh man, we're paying $100 million to him, and it's going to be, $33 million, 33 point something million dollars a year over 3 years. But actually, they have kind of a get out of jail free card, kind of a prove that you're not trash exemption in the contract. So basically, at the end of the year, if for some reason, if by, let's say, November, it's not turning out so good for Sam Darnold and the experiment goes down the tubes, well, the Seahawks can actually pull the plug on it, and they've got like a $37.5 million get out of jail free card. So really, if worse comes to worse and they just want to say, it was a good try, but we're going to have to move on, they're only on the hook for $37.5 million. So it's kind of a win-win for both teams, really. It's like for the Seahawks, if they got a parachute, if the plane starts to crash, for Sam Darnold, it's like, well, I'm getting a decent amount of money this year, but really he's motivated to want to extend this and play beyond, because he'll have the potential to earn more money if things go well in the first year. So it's kind of a motivation to make this work out well for both. So as far as from a fan standpoint, I guess the nice thing is to feel like, okay, if the S hits the fan, we won't be in too much trouble. So that's a good thing. Do I have a filter on or something? You like that? I've got I've got this thing. I don't know, you can tell in my eyes. It's like this AI thing. It makes my eyes look like they're kind of brighter. But Yeah. I was wondering if you guys would pick that up. That's kind of weird. Well, let's turn that off because maybe it's just not working. I'm restore my eyes to their normal conditions. I just want to see if you guys would notice. You guys are too smart. Let's change this back. Here we go. This is my normal self. Ready? 1, 2, 3. They look normal now. I just want to see if that would work. Anyway, there you go. So back to normal. You guys don't have to trip anymore. Like, what's wrong with him? He looks weird. Just an experiment. Anyway, back to my normal self. That's pretty funny. Okay. So, last thing I wanted to bring up was a couple of bonus things. That today was the Cooper Kupp press conference. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to it. I jumped into it late, watched the whole thing, and man, it's pretty cool. It's very inspiring to hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Cooper Kupp talking about how he feels about coming to Seattle, how he donated to Uchenna Nwosu's charity so that he could get the number 10 from him. So he will be wearing his number 10, which he wore both in LA as well as back in Eastern Washington. Kind of cool how he worked that out. And yeah, he talked about actually one of his fond memories of going to a Seahawks game was back in 2006. He went to the snow game where against the Packers. I think I want to say the Seahawks won that game, I think. But I remember that was the game when on the way home, a lot of people got stuck in their cars on the road in the snow, and they ended up abandoning their cars where they were. I remember it was a pretty amazing memory of a game because we don't get snow games that often. But Cooper Kupp was there watching that game, so it's pretty cool that he speaks about that, those memories. He also was wearing a Pearl Jam shirt, very cool, with a plaid long sleeve shirt on top of that. And he also talked about how blocking is a really important part of his game because apparently his coach back in Eastern was one of the worst blockers at Wazoo, so he was taught the importance of being a good blocker. And that's something that I don't think people do a lot of talking about. I didn't even bring it up when we were talking about the trade, or the free agent pickup. But it is a part of the aspect of his game that is a big part. Even if you're not catching the football, you can have an impact on the game for a running back or another receiver if you've got those blocking skills going on, because you never know when you might spring in Jigba or MVS or a tight end down the field because you did your job, or especially with the running game. So pretty cool that that they had that he brought that up in his presser. And so if you haven't watched it, you can watch it on YouTube. It's pretty inspiring. And it reminded me of when I watched, when I heard Tyler Lockett's first interview when he got drafted the summer before he played his first game. And Lockett was really inspiring to listen to. I was like, man, this guy's really smart. Every answer he says just sounds so well articulated and smart, and turns out that's exactly what he was. Well articulated, a smart player. And it was great to have that same feeling listening to Cooper Kupp talk about returning to Seattle, wanting to play for the 12s and being excited what they're building here. And he was honest too about the fact that he was hoping to retire in Los Angeles, but it just didn't go that way, obviously. So I think I'm excited to see what he can do here. I was watching some highlights of his over the years, and yeah, granted, he's not exactly the same guy that he was, 4, 5, 6 years ago, but hoping that he still has those skills and can still bring a little bit of that game that he's got that is so good with the catches, great hands, good route runner. Good yards after the catch. There's been a lot of negativity on him, basically reading things about how he doesn't get separation anymore. I don't know if that's entirely true. I'm sure to a certain degree, you lose a step, you lose a little bit of that edge, and there's probably not quite as much the separation that he did. But if you look at the numbers, his numbers are still pretty good, even with missing a bunch of games due to injury. So I'm very optimistic. I'm excited about Cooper Kupp and yelling a lot of Coop from the stands whenever something great happens, whenever they call his name. So I'm pretty stoked about what he might bring. Again, if you guys feel like it, got the number here if you want to call in and chat or your reactions, 202-926-1076, code 696-153. Lines are wide open if you want to. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking here. But the last part here is, apparently the rumor of the week is that the Chiefs are potentially making another move for a star receiver. So we'll see what they do on that end. Somebody brought up Tyler Lockett, that, Seattle wants you to bring him back, but the latest rumor out there is that Tyler Lockett is being thought to be considering a return to Pete Carroll and the Raiders to join Geno out there. So that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I thought that could be a very strong possibility if he didn't want to quit playing quite yet, wasn't ready to retire, that he could go back and rejoin Geno and Pete over in Vegas. That's just a rumor out there, so we'll see if there's any truth to it. But so far, nothing concrete. Just like on these offensive line signups, nothing concrete. So we're still waiting to hear back to see what if anybody decides to commit. But I'll read some of your comments on here. Let's see. Michael Collins, I like your cast. We're Raider fam here in Santa Cruz. What will Geno bring to the Raiders? And Pete, yay or nay? Well, I look at it this way. The Raiders have not been good for a long time, right? I mean, my childhood buddy has been a Raiders fan for his whole life. And we talk about how the Raiders have not been good since really 2002. And 2001 was the BS tuck rule game that really started the spiral of the end of the heyday years of the Raiders. And that call never should have happened, and the Raiders should have gone on to the Super Bowl that year and probably would have won. Would have changed the entire course of NFL history had that actually happened, had that tuck rule never happened. We might not even know who Tom Brady is. And then the next year they go to the Super Bowl instead, but they face their former head coach, Chucky, who becomes the coach of the Buccaneers, and get blasted in the Super Bowl, and then we never really hear from the Raiders again. So my point in setting that up is, what does Pete Carroll and Geno Smith bring? So Pete Carroll will bring a positive, competitive culture to the Raiders. And I feel like that's something that they need, because that's what he brought to the Seahawks when he came here. And so I'm guessing that the Raiders will be a more competitive team just by the culture that he brings. And he's pairing up with Geno, who loves him some Geno, right? He basically is the coach who gave him a second chance and resurrected his career and got him paid, because if Geno Smith owes Pete Carroll everything, because if it not had been for that man believing in him, he would not be getting the money he's earned from both the Seahawks and now, consequently, the Raiders. So I was a Geno fan up until the point that he decided to leave and walked away from the negotiating table. I thought he would be our quarterback for at least the next 2 years. I thought he was good enough to take us to the playoffs had we had a decent offensive line and a decent running game and a decent center, all those things that were working against him. And I thought the criticism of him was, unfair, that he got a little bit too much of the blame. Some of that was self-inflicted with the turnovers, but again, I just say, look at Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl this past year, or this just a couple months ago. That was Geno Smith's entire experience being quarterback for this team, running for his life, constantly under pressure. So any quarterback, no matter how good they are, if they're under that kind of pressure all the time, they're not going to look very good for any extended period of time, and Geno Smith had to deal with that pretty much the whole time that he was here. So unfortunately, we never got him the line that he deserves, so he can never prove how good he is. But this is going to be it now. I don't know the state of the Raiders' offensive line, so I don't know exactly how much better the situation is that he's going to from what he left here, but he can still run. He's accurate. I think the problems with him would be that sometimes he does hold the ball too long. Sometimes he waits too long for a guy to get open. Like he doesn't throw it and anticipate the throw. He waits till they're open, and by the time he throws it, sometimes somebody's already on him. So he does have that tendency to do that, and that's what often has resulted in his the interceptions that he's gotten. But he can throw a beautiful ball, and short and deep. So if he can get a line and a running game that's decent, I think he'll be very productive for you guys. So we'll see if that remains true. But I think it'll be an upgrade from what you've seen the last couple of years for sure. Let's see. What else? If you could choose one player to get a jersey from, who would you choose? Oh, like actually get one from? Like signed jersey? Probably Cam Chancellor. I've got like not a legit, like actual player jersey, like jersey, but it's got Chancellor's number on it. But since he's one of my favorite players of all time, I'd probably put Cam on the front of that list personally. So that would be my answer there. Abdimus Prime. Norb, look at Josh Kendall tweet Nick Emenwari is great safety in the draft. We're meeting him second time again, but for the 30 rookie visit. Does remind. I'm going to see something that reminds me of Cam Chancellor. That's what they're projected him to be the next Cam Chancellor. Well, that'd be pretty cool if it is. Cam Chancellor, that's a rare breed right there. Dude built like playing safety, looking like a linebacker. We all thought that Byron Murphy was going to be the next Aaron Donald. I'm still waiting for that. Didn't happen this year, but maybe he's just slow to come to fruition. But now we'll see. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Nick Emenwari. Safety Nick Emenwari. I'll have to keep an eye on him. John Rowland, Norb, do you think it was a good idea to sign Cooper Kupp? Because I keep hearing people say it was dumb. Well, I just got done talking about it a few moments ago. The big question that will really answer that is going to be the two things that are on everybody's minds. Number one, the injury aspect. How long can he stay healthy for, and how many games will he actually be able to play? And then two, this notion that he can't get separation anymore, and that he's, unable to, if you can't get open, it's hard to get you the football, right? That's the case. And of course, it's still concerning because obviously you got to ask yourself, well, why did the Rams let him go if he was still so good, right? Well, I guess you could ask the same thing. Well, why did the Seahawks trade DK Metcalf? Well, part of it is because he wanted to be traded, but also the money it would have took to keep him was too high. And it was kind of the same thing with, I feel like the Rams with Cooper Kupp is a lot like the Seahawks with Tyler Lockett. The money deal is just going to be too much for the player that they are now. I never said Tyler Lockett was bad. I still think he can play as well, but he's definitely not the guy he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So, and the money we were going to have to pay him is like DK Metcalf right now money. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense to do that. So the only way it would have worked is if they both could have reached a mutual understanding of tearing up that old contract and coming up with a new one. And apparently it wasn't in the cards for whatever reason. Whether it was that Tyler wanted more, or Tyler didn't want to be here anymore, or the Seahawks were just done and want to go a different direction. We don't really know. But guess we'll kind of find out. If Lockett continues to play, it'll be fun to compare those two, because I think they're very similar in where they are in their careers. Similar age, similar type of receiver. Obviously, Cooper Kupp has had more success in his 10 years, but to see where they go from here. If they do both continue to play, to see how they compare. In the same way, it'll be fun to see the Geno Smith, Sam Darnold comparison. We'll have the same sample size, basically a swap out to see how does Geno Smith do with the Raiders versus Sam Darnold with the Seahawks. It'll be one of those things to keep tabs on. Geno, Sam, Tyler, Cooper, and just kind of see how they compare, see who got the best deal out of all that. Let's see. Gridflow says, Jeffrey O'Kelly, I saw reports that Jenkins failed his physical. Is that true? That part I have not heard. I've been keeping an eye out to try to find any updates on things regarding any meetings with these players, and I haven't seen anything official. So if they have, I certainly haven't seen it myself either. Let's see. Gridflow says Teven Jenkins is so inconsistent, not worth the money, he says. So again, with the Teven Jenkins, again, the penalties and the sacks allowed sure look good, but have to give a little closer examination in that regard. Let's see. Gridflow, how about we stop comparing people to legends? Too much pressure on people. People will be let down when they don't live up to it. It's right, the comparison to Cam Chancellor or Aaron Donald. I'm sure that's what that is. Yeah, I agree. It's probably unfair pressure to throw up a legendary player's name and say, hey, they're a lot like them, because as soon as you say that, you're expecting, you mean they're going to perform just like that player did? And if they don't, you're right, it can be disappointing. So maybe I was guilty of perpetuating that same evaluation, but somebody else said it first. I didn't. So, you hear these things and it's hard not to just compare and think, if that's what they're comparing him to, there must be some truth to it, right? Michael 808 says we should, let's see, at 18 we should draft a wide receiver, then get an O-lineman in the second round and third round. I'm kind of thinking that if they don't make a move here in free agency, that maybe they should get somebody, an O-lineman, earlier and then get the receiver later. Of course, you haven't even mentioned quarterback. So we'll see if there really is interest in the quarterback up here. As mentioned, who's that one that they're hosting in the 30 rookie? What's his name? Brady. Tyler Show. So we'll see if that's something that the Seahawks really stay interested in from Louisville. So keep an eye on that in your draft boards. PDX Cam. Seems like the O-line will be addressed in the draft even if we sign Jenkins. Depth is needed considering how injury-prone it has been for the last few years. That's true. Very true. Yeah. Well, we're getting really close to the point where free agency is almost to the point of being over. And it's going to be all about the draft pretty soon here. So, just something to keep an eye on, and we'll see if the Seahawks do indeed have some updates on what's going on with these player visits. But that's most of the news so far. Otherwise, it's been a relatively quiet week. And Gridflow reminds to let's see. No, Chief Norb, is the call only Discord, or can people just call the number through the phone app? This phone number right here, you can just call on your regular phone. We've done this one before, so yeah, you can just call in and punch in the code, and I'll grab the call. It's been pretty quiet tonight, so may not be doing any calls. Gridflow, don't expect a good O-line right away if you draft rookies. Yeah, but if you draft a high one, they like Joe Alt. Sounded like he had a pretty good year, and I know the Colts drafted him pretty high last year, and sounds like from everything I've been reading, it's a pretty good signing. So, I talked about in my last live stream with Noah Bolter, I talked about how in this draft, if for nothing else, if we came away with 2 kick butt guards and a really awesome tight end, with all 3 of those being the types of guys that sign for extended contracts after their rookie seasons, I would consider this draft a success. Even if the other 7 don't pan out, because sometimes you get a whole draft and a whole draft class, just nothing really amounts to anything. If we came away with 2 like long-term guards and a really great tight end, the kind that we haven't had in years, I would be happy with that. I don't need quantity. I just want quality. To me, it doesn't any good to have a bunch of names of guys who don't even make the team or aren't here after the first year or don't make it past 2 or 3. You know, that's kind of my thought now. The quantity doesn't even mean anything if they're not good. John, Roland, do you think we should draft Jackson Dart and have him sit behind Darnold and Lear and learn for a year or 2? My only concern is that it might take a lot of draft picks to get him, and my concern is if you don't succeed in shoring up the line this year, well, then you're just struggling again for a whole year, no matter who's behind quarterback, behind who's the quarterback behind the offensive line. So I feel like they've got to address that, and it's got to be significantly better this year, or we're just back in the same boat. And again, it doesn't even matter how good your quarterback is if they don't have a line to protect them. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes could be behind that line and we'd still be in trouble. He'd be like that Super Bowl against the Eagles. Grid flow. Seahawks should have drafted Roger Rosengarten, but I'm glad he went to the Ravens if he didn't go to the Seahawks. Yeah, that would have been a nice pickup, right? Pretty great lineman right there. Michael 808. I still like trying to get Joe Milton. Yeah, I've heard that name kicked around as one people like to see in a Seahawks uniform. Jeffrey O'Kelly. Honestly, since we have Sam Darnold, I'd like to see us draft Milroe and try to develop his accuracy. Yeah, or there's going to be a lot of good quarterbacks in the next year's draft. If you take the gamble and not draft the quarterback this year, you're kind of counting on Sam Darnold to be solid for at least 2 years, knowing that you could draft for next year, have him sit for that year in 26, and then be ready to take over. So, again, if the line was better already this year, then I feel like we wouldn't have to put so many resources to it. But my concern is if you take away from drafting a lineman because you're going after the quarterback again, well, then you're still, as I said, different captain with the same sinking ship with holes in it. For a tight end, how about a trade for Mark Andrews? Says Gridflow. I don't know. I'd like to get. It'd be nice to get like a younger, like discover another Brock Bowers type. I heard that dude from Penn State's pretty badass. That would be pretty cool. To get somebody like that. I don't know if he'd be available. He might be gone by the time it gets down to even our first pick. But would love to get something like that. How about Riley Leonard for a late round quarterback? Yeah. I'm not familiar with Riley Leonard, so I got to do more draft research, but, I'll have a better idea of when we get into next month and really starting to get in onto the draft. Kick up. Catching up on the stream, I knew Norb's eyes looked different. I told you, I was playing around with this filter and to see if you guys would pick up on it. It is kind of weird. The eyes look like I was wearing contacts. I think it's the way that best compares to it. Hoop Craze. This makes the draft heavy O-line need draft compared to BPA, which sucks. This makes the draft heavy O-line need draft compared to BPA, which sucks. Yeah, I know. It's kind of one of those things that sometimes you just got to do it. It's not sexy, but you got to do it. Do you think John regrets his previous O-line statements about overpaying for guys up front? Yeah, bet. All right, I got a call to get to here. Somebody did pick up the phone and dial the number. So let's find out who it is. From the 706 from Calhoun, Georgia. Who's this? What's that? I can hear you. I didn't quite hear the name, though. Oh, Nachi? How do you spell that? All right, Nachi. Okay. Oh, Not Chief. Gotcha. All right. Gotcha. I saw you on the thing. Okay, Not Chief. Yeah, is that right? I got you from Georgia? All right, let me get you down here so the guys, other people can't hear because I'm not connected. There we go. All right, you're on. Everybody can hear you now. So, Not Chief, what's on your mind, man?
What are your expectations for the Seahawks next season?
And you're a Chiefs fan. Am I correct?
No, I'm a Seahawks fan.
You're oh, that's just your name. Okay, I thought maybe you're a Chiefs fan or something by the name. Okay, I gotcha. What are my expectations? Well, I think I have to kind of gauge that based on what they do with the line. I hate to sound like a cop-out, like not going all the way in, but I feel like all this stuff with a different quarterback and none of that matters if the line doesn't improve. So if they make a free agent splash here or they pick up some really, amazing linemen who can really make a difference, I feel like we will be better. Our defense already, I feel like, is going to be better. It's going to be better from last year's. And then, with these, I'm optimistic about Cooper Kupp. I can't say I know that much about what MVS is going to bring to it. There's a lot of just ifs with these guys. And then, of course, there's the draft that who knows where we're going to go with that. But I think if the line is better, I feel like our running back, I like our running backs. I feel like they're like horses trapped in a stable they can't get through the door because it's locked. And I think if they can get an offensive line, these guys should be good, right? So, and what do you think? What are your expectations?
People forget about Kenny McIntosh. Kenny McIntosh is the dog. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't know about him, but we have K9, Zach Charbonnet, and then Kenny. I think we need to give some snaps to him too. Get him in there.
Well, I don't know how many games you got to watch while you were down in Georgia, but they finally got some touches to Kenny McIntosh this year. Part of it because of the injuries to Kenneth Walker, but finally, I've been the same thing. It's like as soon as they drafted him, I was like, "Come on, let's see this guy." They didn't see him the whole first year, barely. The second year, finally got to see some touches. Like, okay, there he is. He's good. So we really have three really solid running backs that we should be able to do something with.
Yeah, man. When I saw the news about Geno Smith and DK, I didn't know what to think, man. Because look, we went 10-7 this year. We weren't even that far from a playoff spot. We were one game. Like, we could have done it. And when I saw that happen, I was like, wow. Like, no way the Seahawks are going after a pretty decent season. And looking at the schedule we have this upcoming year, I was stunned. But as much hate as we give John Snyder, I think he's done an amazing job this offseason.
Okay, so you're happy with the moves, even though I feel like the rest of us, when DK and Tyler and Gino were all gone, I'm sure we were all feeling the same gut punch. But a week later, it was like, okay, you know what? It's not as bad a week later. He made some pretty good moves given the circumstances.
The only thing I'm worried about is just if Cooper Kupp can be healthy. It's a whole if for the Seahawks. Sam Darnold, can he do good under the weapons with JSN, with Bobo, with MVS, Kupp? That's still got to see that. And if Clint Kubiak is the man, there's a lot to find out, and I'm really excited for the season. Yeah, that's the other part of it too. I didn't even bring up the whole offensive line coaches, the coordinator, and one of those guys who came in, the guy coming from the Saints. I think that's the Patrick Lucas guy, or if I got the name right. Mm-hmm. He played under Kubiak too, being from New Orleans and stuff. So, anyway, just a lot of these guys have been people who, Darnold had familiarity with Kubiak's system. Mm-hmm. Kupp has familiarity with, I think, the way they run their system as well here. So it feels like, compared to last year, where it was like a lot of pieces thrown together at the last second,
Like, okay, we finally got a head coach. Go for it, man. And, oh, you're new offensive coordinator. Go for it, too. It's like a lot of new pieces, and clearly that didn't really work. But here it's like you're getting all these guys who are on the same page. Mike Macdonald now a year into it. Most winningest coach for the Seahawks in his first year, by the way. So you can't take that away as well. Yeah. And then you take all that, and now it's like, okay, now it's really his team. It's his coaches, his draft. It's going to be much more the team that he wants it to be. And so I feel like I can...
No more players from Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I see that, I see that the way everything's aligning with the players they're starting to get. It all kind of matches up with the way they built this from the ground up. So... yeah, it's kind of like a rebuild without doing the full rebuild. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I'm with you. Now it really just comes down to part 2, which is the draft. I mean, they've got to draft well, and they got 10 picks to do it with, which means they've got a lot to play with. So they should be able to come up with good, talented players in whatever positions they decide to fill. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see. It's going to be a big draft.
I feel like people aren't looking at what's his name, the quarterback from Alabama, Milroe. I think he could be a steal possibly in the third, second round if he's even available.
Yeah, somebody brought that up actually in the chat.
Yeah, Seattle has 2 second-round picks. If I'm not mistaken.
I think so because with the trade, that's what they got for DK. They got another second. So yeah, I think it was a late second.
Either receiver or quarterback. Yeah, either with receiver or quarterback, I wouldn't be too mad with that.
Yeah, I kind of want to get a tight end. I would love to see Seattle get a really good tight end too. So,
but AJ Bonner is low-key pretty good.
He's pretty good, but they run tight end. They run double tight end sets, so for sure, AJ Bonner is going to be part of that. But I'm talking about I don't know, like a true dominating type of tight end, the kind that you just talk about.
Yeah.
Like a quarterback's best friend kind of thing. So,
are there even good tight ends in this draft?
I forget the name of the guy from. I've heard really good things about the guy from Penn State. Maybe you guys know who that is, but that would be something, right? So, because I heard the guy can block. The guy's got just strong, powerful. I mean, it would be catch the football, be a pretty amazing pickup. But I don't know if he'll be around for it. So. We'll see.
No.
But, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you chiming in.
Of course, man.
All right.
Of course. See you, Norb.
All right. Go Hawks. All right. Appreciate Nachi for the call. Yeah. There you go. War Chief. Is that War Chief? The same one just... Oh, no. I just talked to Not Chief. This is War Chief now. It says, get a D tackle at 18. War Chief's also got opinions on the quarterbacks. Please, no Shador Melrose, not before the 5th. It's just interesting. There's so many thoughts and mixed opinions on the draft. And, you look back, revisionist history on teams that could have had Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or, be it Russell Wilson for that matter. All these players who you go now, it's like, oh, man. What were we thinking? We didn't pick them up. Yet everybody could have had a shot, for a lot of these players who didn't go right away in the first round. And it's the team that either gets lucky or just sees something nobody else does. But wonder who that's going to be. Like, what star is going to emerge from this draft? We got to at least have a couple of stars. Like I said, 3 would be ideal, of guys who are solid, who play in Seattle for at least 5, 6, 7 years or more. That's what you're hoping for. So we'll see. Grid flow. Wonder if Seahawks will have a Ravens influence. We thought we'd have a bunch of Ravens players come flying into to Seattle when Mike Macdonald became head coach. I forgot his name. The linebacker we thought was going to come here, and he didn't. He went to where did he go to? I'm talking about. Doggone it. The middle linebacker for the Ravens. He was free agent. We thought he'd come here for sure, and he ended up going to some East Coast team. I can't remember which one now. You guys can probably come up with the answer in a second here. But Grid flow. Look back at 2022 draft and analyze. Patrick Queen to the Steelers. There we go. Thank you. That was from Paper Portal. Yep, our Chief. Appreciate the pickup. You bet. Now you know you have Seahawks fan in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. I know a couple, or at least now I know a couple in Georgia. Actually, I know 3 in Georgia. I have 3 Seahawks fan friends in Georgia, and a Falcons fan who lives in Georgia, of course. But yeah, we'll see. See how hard I have high hopes this coming season. Jeffrey, Tyler Warren is the tight end from Penn State. There you go, Tyler Warren. And yes, again, Patrick Queen went to the Steelers. War Chief, I think Jod Campbell and Ashton Genty will be superstars. Well, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be doing some mock drafts coming up in the next few weeks. I'll bring you guys into that. We can do our own little, I'll do some setups where we can all kind of be real time, do some draft picking together. That'd be kind of fun. So, have you guys help me do some mocks and see what the Seahawks draft in 2025 could look like. So, Grid Flow. So people need to set expectations at around 8 and 9 or 9 and 8. Well, that's like middle of the road, right? So you can't go wrong just saying middle of the road. But I don't know. I feel like we're going to be better than we were last year. Should have been. So I'm going to say we're going to be better than 500. 9 and 8 is still better than 500, but maybe more than 2 games better than 500. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up early this evening. I got an early morning tomorrow, so I'm going to try to get to bed early tonight. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, you guys. And I'll be back with any breaking news that come our way in the next few days. And, of course, leading up to the draft. But appreciate you guys joining me tonight. We will talk to y'all later. Have a good one. And, have a great rest of your week. Go Hawks.
Yo, I'm Ken Walker, running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
KJ Wright. Hey, Burleson. You're watching NorbFam.
You're watching NorbFam.